Have you ever felt that sensation of speaking, and it seems like your words just vanish into thin air, as if you were invisible, transparent, just another face in the crowd? Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you now, because this could completely change the way women see and treat you. Imagine yourself as a century-old oak tree in the middle of a forest of shrubs, firm, unshakable, with roots so deep that no storm can knock it down. That's exactly what you'll become after you absorb what I'm going to share here. Do you know what the problem is? You've been taught wrong your whole life. They told you that being nice, always available, and agreeing with everything was the way to earn respect. A lie. A pure lie that keeps you trapped in a cycle of disrespect and frustration. How many times have you given in when you should have held your ground? How many times have you swallowed your pride, thinking you were being mature? Wake up, man, that's not maturity. It's weakness disguised as virtue. When you don't have a solid character, when you don't set clear boundaries, do you know what happens? Women constantly test you. They push your buttons. They ignore your opinions. And worst of all, you start to doubt your own worth. You start to think the problem is you. And in a way it is, but not in the way you think. The problem isn't who you are. The problem is how you're presenting yourself to the world, how you're allowing yourself to be treated. And that ends today. Now, this very moment. Studies show that women biologically respond to men with a strong presence. I'm not talking about being rude or aggressive. I'm talking about something much deeper and rarer, something that few men truly understand and apply. I've spent over a decade immersed in male psychology and relationship dynamics. I've seen thousands of cases, men destroyed by not understanding this basic principle, and men who completely transformed their lives when they finally grasped what I'm about to teach you. This knowledge is ultra rare. Most men live and die without ever discovering these secrets. You're about to enter a select group. Pay attention. First sign that you're on the right track: non-negotiable self-respect. This means knowing your worth and never ever accepting less than you deserve. You know when you wait for her to reply to your message for hours, and when she finally does, it's just one word, and you keep trying to start a conversation. Stop that now. Men of character don't beg for attention. They know their time is valuable. When you stop chasing, something magical happens. People start to notice your absence. They start to value your presence. I remember a guy I worked with, always available for his girlfriend. He'd drop everything when she called, cancelled commitments, changed plans. The result? She treated him like a doormat. When he finally understood that he needed to value himself first, everything changed. He started saying no when he had other commitments. He kept his word with his friends. He prioritized his goals. Do you know what happened? She started to respect him. She began to value the time they spent together. It became a different dance where he led with confidence. Does that make sense to you? Second crucial point: action. Aligned with integrity and consistency. Your internal radar needs to be calibrated. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. No excuses, no beating around the bush. Your word becomes law. How many men do you know who promise and don't deliver? Who say one thing and do another? Those guys are transparent. Nobody takes them seriously. Women notice that instantly. When you align your actions with your words, you become predictable in the best sense, reliable, solid. People know what to expect from you, and that generates automatic respect. There's a simple test. In the next 2 weeks, fulfill absolutely everything you promise. Every small commitment. Said you'd call at 8? Call at 8. Promise to pick something up? Pick it up. No exceptions. You'll notice how people start to look at you differently, how your presence carries more weight, how your opinions start to matter more. Can you visualize this transformation? Third fundamental element: boundaries as solid as medieval castle walls. You need to define what you accept and what you don't accept. And more importantly, you need to communicate that without fear. Most men are afraid to set boundaries. They think they'll seem controlling or insecure. Nonsense. Boundaries are about self-respect, about knowing your worth. When someone crosses your boundaries and you do nothing, do you know what you're communicating? That your boundaries don't matter, that you don't respect yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, why the hell should anyone respect you? I'll tell you about another client. His girlfriend had a habit of yelling during arguments. She'd raise her voice, create drama, make a scene. He always gave in to calm the situation. One day, following my advice, he did something different. In the middle of the argument, when she started to yell, he simply said calmly, "I'm not going to continue this conversation while you're yelling. When you want to talk like adults, find me." And he left. He went for a walk. She was shocked. She had never seen that stance from him. When he returned, she apologized, and she never yelled at him again. A clear boundary, a permanent change. Do you see the power in that? Fourth essential pillar, silent leadership that doesn't need to announce itself. You become the pillar of strength that everyone looks for when the storm hits. You demonstrate, calm when everything is chaotic, control when everyone else loses their head. Weak men react, strong men respond. Do you understand the difference? Reaction is emotional, impulsive, uncontrolled. Response is calculated, thoughtful, strategic. When she provokes you, tests you, throws out emotional bait, you don't bite. You observe, process, respond with wisdom. That is real power, power that no one can take away from you. Think of a moment of crisis. Everyone in a panic. And you're there taking a deep breath, thinking of solutions. Being the safe harbor, that attracts respect like a magnet attracts metal. People naturally gravitate around you. Studies show that in stressful situations, the female brain seeks signs of safety and stability. When you are that source of stability, you become indispensable, irreplaceable. Can you feel that shift in energy? Fifth, and perhaps most important, assertive communication that cuts like a sharp blade. You speak with purpose and clarity. No beating around the bush, no games, straight to the point. It's not about being rude, it's about being clear, about expressing your needs, desires, and boundaries without apologizing for existing, without justifying yourself all the time. How many times have you started a sentence with sorry, with maybe, with if it's not too much trouble? Stop that. You have the right to take up space, to have opinions, to express what you feel. The formula is simple. I feel X when Y happens, and I need Z to change. No drama, no accusations, just facts and needs, clean and direct. There's a secret here that almost no one notices. When you communicate like this, you remove the emotional weight from the conversation. It becomes something practical, solvable, and that is extremely attractive. I'm going to share the framework I use with my clients. The tripod of respect, simple but powerful when applied correctly. First leg of the tripod, internal authority, your foundation of self-worth that doesn't depend on external validation. You know who you are. You know your qualities. You recognize your achievements. Second leg, coherent action. Your actions aligned with your words, creating a solid reputation. You do what you promise. You act according to your values. You keep your integrity intact. Third leg, clear boundaries. Your non-negotiable borders that protect your emotional and physical space. You know where you end and the other person begins. You defend your territory without guilt. When these three legs are strong, the tripod doesn't wobble. You become unshakable. And that is magnetic to any woman of value. Does this structure make sense? Now let me anticipate a question that might be going through your head. Isn't this about being misogynistic or a tough guy who tries to control women? Listen closely. Absolutely not. This is about being a man of unshakable character who deeply respects himself. And it's precisely this authenticity and inner strength that naturally inspire respect, without the need for aggression, without power, games, without manipulation. Women of value look for men of substance, not guys who pretend to be something they're not, but men who know their worth and aren't afraid to defend it. I'll give you a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with your partner. The tension in the air is almost palpable. You can feel the electricity in the room. She starts to raise her voice, tempers flare. What would the average man do? He'd yell back or shrink away. He'd give in to avoid conflict or explode in anger. Both reactions show a lack of control, a lack of character. The man of character does things differently. He remains calm. His gaze remains steady but serene. With a controlled but firm voice, he sets a clear boundary. I'm not going to continue this conversation in that tone. When we're both calm, we can resolve this. And then he acts. He doesn't threaten. He acts. He goes for a walk, goes to another room, creates space for both of them to breathe. That's emotional leadership. That's true strength. Do you see how that changes the entire dynamic? You're not running away. You're managing the situation. You're being the adult in the room, and that commands instant respect. There's another aspect that few men understand. Respect isn't asked for. It's earned, it's not begged for, it's demonstrated through consistent actions over time. Every time you keep your word, you make a deposit into the respect account. Every time you defend your boundaries, another deposit. Every time you act with integrity, the account grows. But every time you give in when you shouldn't, you make a withdrawal. Every time you break a promise, another withdrawal. Every time you allow disrespect, the account empties. The question is simple. Is your account in the red or in the black? Are your actions building or destroying your respect capital? Think about that now. Let me tell you about the 50-30-20 rule of respect. 50% comes from how you treat yourself, 30% from how you treat others, 20% from how you allow others to treat you. Most men only focus on the 30%. They treat others well, expecting reciprocity, but they ignore the other 70%. That's why they fail. You need to start with yourself. How do you talk to yourself? How do you take care of your body? How do you invest in your growth? That is the foundation of everything. Then comes how you treat others. With respect, but without subservience. With kindness, but without weakness. With generosity, but without emptying yourself. And finally, what you tolerate. What behaviors do you accept? What treatment do you allow? That defines your standard, and people will always treat you at the level you accept. There's a hard truth here. You are receiving exactly the level of respect you are accepting. If you're not satisfied, the responsibility is yours. Does that hurt to hear? But it's liberating too, because it means you have the power to change. It doesn't depend on her, it doesn't depend on anyone. It depends only on you, on your choices, on your actions. I want you to understand one thing. Women constantly test men. It's biological, instinctive. They need to know if you're strong enough to protect, stable enough to provide emotional security. When you fail these tests, when you always give in, when you don't hold your ground, you're communicating weakness. And weakness doesn't attract respect. Weakness attracts contempt. But when you pass these tests, when you maintain your frame, when you're not shaken by provocations, you communicate strength. And strength attracts admiration. It attracts respect. It attracts desire. I'm not telling you to be inflexible. I'm telling you to be selective. Know when to give in and when to hold your ground. Know when it's love and when it's a test. There's a concept I call controlled elasticity. You can bend without breaking. You can be flexible without losing shape. You can adapt without losing yourself. It's like that century-old oak tree I mentioned at the beginning. It sways with the wind but doesn't fall. It bends with the storm but doesn't break. Its roots are too deep for that. You need to develop those roots of self-knowledge, of solid values, of non-negotiable principles. When you have that, nothing can knock you down. Let me be even more direct with you. If you're not being respected, it's not because women are bad. It's not because the world is unfair. It's because you're allowing it. You're being complicit with disrespect. You're validating inappropriate behaviors. You're rewarding what you should be punishing. Do you understand the mechanics of that? Every time she disrespects you and you continue acting normal, you're saying it's okay, that she can continue, that there are no consequences. But when you step away after disrespect, when you remove your attention, when you demonstrate that you have options, everything changes. You communicate that your respect has value, that your presence is a privilege. This isn't a game. It's setting standards. It's clear communication of expectations. It's relational leadership. Can you see the difference? Now I'm going to give you a specific technique. I call it reverse mirroring. When someone treats you in a certain way, you mirror that energy back, but with control, without emotional reactivity. Is she distant? You become distant too. Is she affectionate? You reciprocate. Is she disrespectful? You step away. Simple as that. This creates a clear correlation between behavior and consequence. She quickly learns that to get your best version, she needs to offer hers too. It's fair for both. But here's the secret that few apply. You need to be genuinely willing to lose. If you're bluffing, if you're pretending you'll leave but wouldn't, she'll notice. Women have a radar for detecting emotional bluffing. When you are truly willing to lose something that doesn't respect you, you become unbeatable. Because you're no longer negotiating from a position of need, you're negotiating from a position of choice. And that changes everything. You stop begging for crumbs of attention. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop settling for mediocre relationships. You start to attract women who value men of value, who respect respectable men, who admire strength without needing to constantly test it. But this requires courage. Courage to be alone if necessary. Courage to maintain your standards. Courage not to give in to social pressure. How many men do you know who are in horrible relationships because they're afraid to be alone? Who accept daily disrespect because they think they can't get anything better? These men live in hell. So, hell of their own creation, because they chose known disrespect instead of unknown self-respect. You don't have to be one of them. You can choose differently. You can choose to respect yourself first and attract people who respect your choice. There's a phrase I repeat to my clients. It's better to be alone and whole than accompanied and in pieces. Absorb that. Let it sink in deep. When you are whole, you attract whole people. When you are broken, you attract broken people. It's a universal law. Like attracts like. So, the question is, are you whole? Are you complete in yourself? Or are you looking for someone to complete you? The answer defines what kind of relationship you will attract. Whole men attract whole women. Needy men attract problematic women. Respectable men attract respectful women. It's relational math. Now I'm going to give you one last insight. The most powerful of all, true respect is born from self-love, not from ego, not from pride, from genuine self-love. When you truly love yourself, you don't accept less than you deserve, not out of arrogance, out of self-preservation, out of self-care, out of self-respect. And when you love yourself like that, you don't need others to love you to feel complete. You are already complete. The love of others becomes a bonus, not a necessity. This liberates you. It gives you real power of choice. It allows you to love without dependence, to relate without desperation, to connect without neediness. And paradoxically, this makes you infinitely more attractive because you're not needing, you're choosing, you're not begging, you're offering. You see how this completely flips the game? You move from the position of a beggar to the position of a king, from needy to abundant, from lacking to complete. And kings don't beg for respect. Kings emanate respect. Kings are respect personified, and that's what you will become when you apply everything I've shared here. But let me be honest with you, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey, a transformation that requires daily commitment. You will fail at first. You'll give in when you shouldn't. You'll revert to old patterns. It's normal. It's part of the process. The important thing is to keep trying. Every day is a new opportunity to practice, to strengthen your character, to solidify your boundaries, to emanate more respect. And one day you'll wake up and realize people treat you differently. They look at you differently. They respect you naturally, without you needing to demand it. That is the power of true character. It doesn't shout, it doesn't impose itself, it simply is, and its mere existence commands respect. Remember that century-old oak tree from the beginning? That's what you're becoming. Strong but flexible, firm but gentle, powerful but peaceful. And when you get there, when you become that man, you'll understand. Respect was never about them. It was always about you, about who you choose to be. So the final question is this: who do you choose to be? The man who accepts crumbs, or the man who sets standards? The man who begs for respect, or the man who emanates respect? The choice is yours. It always has been, it always will be. And you can start the change now, this very moment, with the next interaction, with the next choice. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for the next relationship. Don't wait for the perfect situation. Start now. The respect you deserve is waiting for you to claim it. If this content resonated with you, if something here struck a chord, do this now before you forget. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with that friend who needs to hear this. Because men of character support other men, they uplift other men, they help other men find their inner oak tree, their true strength, their deserved respect. The journey begins now. Are you ready?